If you've ever wanted to draw clean, accurate perspective in Krita, this tutorial is going to make that process much easier. In this video, I'll show you how to set up perspective assistance, how to turn on snapping, and how to use those guides to draw straighter, more believable lines in your artwork. Whether you're creating backgrounds, buildings, roads, or simple scene layouts, this workflow will save you a ton of time and help your drawings look much more professional. And if this tutorial helps you out, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you can keep up with more easy art tutorials like this. Alright, let's jump right in. First, open Krita and make sure you have your canvas ready. On the left side of the workspace, look for the Assistant tool. The icon usually looks like a ruler with a pencil, and this is the tool you'll use to create perspective guides. Once you've selected it, look over to the Tool Options docker on the right side of the screen. This panel gives you different assistant types and settings depending on the guide you want to build. At the top of the Tool Options docker, click the drop-down menu and choose the assistant type you need. If you want a basic perspective setup for objects and scenes, select Perspective. This works great for 1-point or 2-point perspective and is especially useful for grid squares, boxes, walls, and structured environments. If you want more custom perspective control, choose Vanishing Point instead. That option is useful when you want radial perspective lines or a guide system familiar to a specific composition. Now it's time to place the assistant on your canvas. Click anywhere on or around the drawing area to create your vanishing point or perspective grid. Depending on the assistant type you chose, Krita will place the guide right onto the workspace. From there, you can drag the corner nodes of the grid box to line it up with your horizon line and angle it the way you want. This step matters because the placement of your assistants will determine how your lines flow across the scene. So take a moment to position everything carefully before you start drawing. If you're setting up a 1-point scene, you'll usually want the vanishing point centered where the depth of the image should pull inward. If you're building a more dramatic 2-point perspective scene, place the guide so the left and right edges of your objects can recede naturally toward each side. The goal is to get the assistant positioned in a way that supports the structure of your artwork, not fights against it. Once your perspective assistants are in place, the next step is to enable assistant snapping. This is what makes Krita actually help you draw along those guides instead of just showing them on the canvas. Switch back to your regular freehand brush tool by pressing B or selecting it from the toolbar. Then look again at the Tool Options docker on the right. Find the checkbox labeled Snap to Assistants and turn it on. This tells Krita to guide your brush strokes toward the assistant lines. Right below that, you'll see the Magnetism slider. This setting controls how strongly your brush locks onto the perspective lines. If you set it all the way up, your brush will stay completely locked to the assistants, which is great when you need very precise architectural lines. If you lower the magnetism, you'll have more freedom to break away from the grid when drawing with faster hand movements or when you want a more natural sketching feel. A good way to use this is to start with full magnetism while you're blocking in clean perspective shapes and then lower it a bit once you want looser sketch lines or more organic details. That balance gives you both control and flexibility. It also helps reduce frustration, especially if you're still getting used to drawing perspective manually. Now try drawing a few test lines across the canvas. You'll notice that your brush wants to follow the assistants and stay aligned with the perspective setup you created. This is where Krita becomes really useful for drawing backgrounds, city scenes, rooms, furniture, or any object that needs believable depth. Instead of guessing the angle of every line, you can let the assistants do the heavy lifting while you focus on the actual design. As you practice, remember that perspective is not just about making lines straight. It's about making your scene feel consistent and dimensional. The assistants help you keep that structure under control so your artwork looks more solid and intentional. If something feels off, adjust the vanishing point or the grid placement before continuing. A small correction at the setup stage can save you from having to redraw a lot later. And that's the basic workflow for drawing perspective in Krita. Add your perspective assistants, place them carefully on the canvas, switch to your brush tool, turn on Snap to Assistants, and adjust the magnetism until the guide feels right for your drawing style. Once you get comfortable with this, you'll be able to sketch faster and build scenes with much more confidence. If this video helped you, please give it a like and subscribe for more step-by-step Krita tutorials. And if you want, I can also make a follow-up video showing how to draw 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, or even how to use perspective assistance for building a full background in Krita. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.